Welcome to the Coach My Life live interview series.
Uh-oh.
Jay had a reminder to probably send a text message out. I'm sure that's what that reminder was. But welcome to the Coach My Life live interview series. I am your vision coach, LaToya Early, and
I am your concierge, Jasmin Pittman. It's such a pleasure to be here this evening.
I hope you are ready for our shenanigans. Make sure you do us a favor and share this broadcast. Make sure you tag someone in the broadcast. Listen, tonight's conversation is going to be on fire. And I'm not just saying that because he my boo. I'm saying this because the conversation is going to be amazing. So you want to make sure that you are tagging someone to join us on tonight, that you are sharing this broadcast. This is the Coach My Life weekend live interview series where you get the opportunity to hear from the Coach My Life workshop facilitators. You get to hear from your girl, your host, your vision coach who just can't stop talking. And then you're going to hear from the concierge who's going to navigate us through this whole interview series, you know what I'm saying, and do
Mm-hmm.
her good job and what she do good. And so yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and just pass it over to Jay so that she can introduce our interview
Wow.
right? Yep, for the night. And I'm gonna mute my mic.
I
We're
wasn't
not
even expecting
listen,
that.
we're not on
You see me
Clubhouse.
over here shocked? I'm over here like, wait, oh, it's my turn. Okay, hey everybody, how are you? I'm so excited to be here this evening. As LaToya has already said, our wonderful host, our vision coach, the founder and CEO of Chase Great Enterprises. Thank you for this opportunity to be the concierge for your conference. As she's already said, I am here to navigate you guys through the conference and all things Chase Great. So this evening, we will be talking to a dad coach. So I got to make sure I say it like that because he is not the dad coach. He makes sure that we understand that he is a dad coach, the one, the only, Demetrious Early. Who bringing him in? She's supposed
Am
to
I
be.
in? Sweet.
Hey, what's up? What's up? Hey, Meech, how are
What's going
you?
on? I'm
A
blessed.
dad coach.
What's going on? Concierge G.
I
I
don't
just
do that
wanna
because
I
Tori
wanna
go.
pronounce it how it sounds.
Please don't.
Concierge
We are all
concierge.
educated people on this here live. It is a concierge, and so we're gonna use our intelligence and our ability to articulate, and we're gonna
Mhm.
pronounce this the right way.
So listen, I don't know if I need to do a full introduction because we all know who he is, but just in case we don't, I don't think that I can do his. Oh, she left. What heck? Okay, well I'm gonna let this be. So I would like for you. I know who you are. You are Demetrious Early. You are a dad coach, and you always emphasize a dad coach to us. Can you tell me or tell us why a dad coach?
Well, first, hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so yeah, first, a dad coach because there is only one dad coach in this God. God created the blueprint. The word is the direct image of what fathership should look like, what fathership should feel like, and what it should look like when you're reading it. So for me, I just want to be a guide. My entire purpose is to be a guide to the blueprint. Not to be the example because I fall short. Not to be an example because I'm dedicated to a life of learning. So I'm legit always updating and learning new information. So my full purpose is to bring other dads together, and as we share and glean off one another, we're going and we're walking towards the dad coach to be refined and grow and be better. So
Absolutely, absolutely. And I love when you specify or you kind of outline for us why a dad coach and why you're not the dad coach or the dad coach. So I love when you say that. So I always try to make you say it because I don't think I can do that explanation any justice. So thank you for that. So we're gonna just jump right in because it's you, me, and LaToya. I don't know why she on mute. It's so cute that she on mute though. But what happened? It's cute. All right, so listen, I want to know because your segment of the conference is winning after abandonment, and we know that this conference is geared towards, refreshing, re-emerging, rejuvenating the women in various areas of their life. And so we want them to be able to win after they've experienced something. And your segment is winning after abandonment. But I feel like you're the only man coming to speak to the women. Mm-hmm. So tell me why and what the women can expect from the male voice that will be present at this conference.
Power. Women can expect power. No. Okay, I mean, unfortunately, and this was on purpose when you talk about abandonment, unfortunately, many women connect to the conversation of abandonment with a male. And it's hard to understand the effects of that from another person who also experiences that same kind of rejection or that same kind of abandonment. So what I'm trying to do is what God will use me to do is to explain and share the thought processes behind the whys, like why do we abandon, what abandonment looks like, because it's so many different forms, and then roll out the conversation on how abandonment still isn't an excuse to stay stuck, but it's so much more about just identifying it. So they can really just expect a full story of the why, the how, and the so what. We got to get to work. That's kind of
the why, the how, and the so what. And I do like how you pointed out, or how you said that most and not all. So if you're listening, we're not saying that every level of abandonment that you may have experienced came at the hands of a male, but we are saying that for most women, a lot of that did come at the hands of a man. And so you said how you're the person as a male to be able to kind of address that, right? Is that what you're kind of hinting at a little bit? Like
a little bit.
Okay.
I just think it's a fair mirror. I mean, a lot of women deal with the rejection of the father. So even though I'm not their father, I am a father that has, weirdly enough, struggled with the desire to abandon. So that's why I said not to make an excuse. That's where the so what at the end comes from, is the how, the why, and then the so what. We have work to do. So then that goes for both. That goes for the abandoned and the abandoner. Man, that's a new word. The abandoner.
The abandoner.
So like I said, but there's a full conversation. I want to speak from the abandoner to the abandoned.
I'm gonna need you to find the right word, because I don't think that's the right word.
You don't think abandoner is? I think
no. Well, you experience abandonment from,
or the abandonist. I guarantee it's.
See, now I'm about to like.
I'm looking right now.
Me too, because I feel like we just got to get this part right.
It's in there. It's in there. Yeah. If it's not, I just made a word. Yep, abandoner.
Okay.
It's in there.
I see it's a movie, but I don't see. Okay, it's okay. I'm gonna just try.
See, so if it's a movie, it's got to be a word.
They make up words all the time to produce movies. You know,
if it's a movie, then it's a word.
Okay. We gonna let you have that, because it definitely came up in French for me when I typed in the definition. It must be a French movie, so I'm gonna let that slide until we can figure it out. But I'm sure that before this evening is over, LaToya is gonna come back like, I found the word. We're gonna wait for that because we know she comes.
Only if she didn't find it, it's not a word. If she finds out it's really a word, she'll never find it.
Well, unfortunately, it is. Abandoner in British English is a person or thing that abandons. So I guess it is.
My name is British, so it makes sense that I knew that without me knowing it. It was after.
What happened?
So what's the next question?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's go, because so but I know this is something you said was very intriguing, but I won't dig deeper because I know that that may be something that you may want to talk about during the conference. But I do like the so what. I very often say so what now what. Okay, so what had happened, but now what? You know,
Exactly.
you can't sit in the experience of it all. You got to migrate out of that thing. And now what do we do? Um, okay, dope. So who is your workshop for?
This, I always say this, and it sounds wild. It's always it's for me, but I ask God to put me in a position that as He's teaching and walking me through something, He puts me in places where other people can benefit from it as well. So there's been rarely a time that I've spoken on anything that I wasn't a work in progress. It's been rare for me to be on a soapbox
Mm-hmm.
when when I talk about stuff like this. So it's for me, but it's for anybody who, okay, just a little piece. For anybody who struggles with the undefined anxiety and fear of inclusion, the person that just automatically goes or thinks about what if they don't, what if this doesn't, what if I can't, then it's especially for the, if you just, and it's like you have no information, there's no proof, but these thoughts, you see yourself walking into this all the time, like you're struggling through that, like why am I even, where did this, what if they don't, what if, like, where did this come from? And it comes from abandonment. That's what I said, there's so many different forms of abandonment. So I want to expose that first, and then have the conversation to expose it, so that we can, like I said, get to the point of so what. And not so what that it happened, but so what now, which is the full thing. So what now, not so what. No one cares.
Because a lot of times we should be teaching from a place of understanding, a place of experience.
Say that one more
There you
time.
go.
I lost you.
Okay, yep. I said, I the first thing that you talked about was that it was for you, because, and I think sometimes when we're teaching, we should be teaching from a place of experience or understanding, and sometimes you can only understand because you've experienced it or you've been through that. So, is that
Absolutely.
something that you have experienced on your end?
Absolutely. Abandonment. Yes, I've experienced abandonment in several different forms, and I didn't. In some of the things I didn't even consider abandonment until I really fully understand what it was. Because the action of abandonment is a lot deeper than we understand what that. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We before I'm trying not to teach.
I
Before
know.
us, I mean, just us as humans, just in general, we crave, we crave to be accepted. We
Mhm.
crave to be included. We like, these are things that we just, and depending on the age where you first identified needing something like that,
Mhm.
when that happens, when you're denied that, it can spiral into you actually searching and creating other forms of abandonment, and making you become the
The
abandoner.
abandoner. The abandoner. I knew it was coming. The abandoner. That's
I think I'm gonna put on the shirt for the conference.
the abandoner.
I think I'm gonna do that.
So I have a question for our listeners, for those of you who are, checking out today's interview. I want to know on the chat. Let us know first, of course, take a moment to just let us know that you're in the chat. Say hello, say hi, say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is. But I want to know if you've ever experienced some level of abandonment, or okay, so if you've experienced a level of abandonment, I want you to go ahead and drop a blue heart in our comment in our chat. But if you've ever been the abandoner, as they call it, right? The abandoner, the person who has abandoned
I call
someone
it.
else, Lord. I want you to drop a different color heart in the chat. Let us know, or in the comments. Let us know who's here, because this is going to help us better gauge how to really show up for you during the event, during the weekend, but just so that we can see that we're not the only ones who've experienced abandonment, whether or not, again, we've been abandoned or we were the ones that abandoned someone else. You know, we want to see that, hey, you weren't by yourself, you're not alone. So do me a favor, again, drop that in the comment. If you've ever felt abandoned, go ahead and drop a blue heart. If you've ever been the one to abandon someone else, if you want to be that open and be that public, you know, show that public admission, then go ahead and drop a different color heart. You can also inbox us, right? If you've ever been the one to abandon someone else and you're like, listen, I have been the one to abandon someone and I feel bad about it, shoot us an inbox so that we can, you know, walk you through this process while we're, you know, here laughing and being funny and making light of the situation. We do take this seriously, and we want you to know that we're here and we support you and we have your back.
You've been abandoned, right?
Yeah.
Yep,
You
drop
got
a
a
blue
blue
heart
heart.
if you've been abandoned. If you felt abandoned, listen, I can drop a whole bunch of blue hearts. So, you know, that's definitely something, especially in my childhood, when I got to a certain age of dating, whether or not I felt abandoned by my father, whether or not I felt abandoned by family members or by, you know, someone who I was dating at the time. Like, we've all had that experience. And what that experience did to us has shown up differently in each of our lives.
Absolutely. And I think Demetrious, you touched on it's showing up differently for different people. So
Absolutely.
with you,
Because because you can be abandoned. I mean, most of us always think about it in the romantic aspect or in the parental,
mm-hmm,
but a lot of us experience this abandonment in the workplace. A
mm,
lot of us experience this abandonment spiritually, and this, and when I say spiritually, I mean we perceive it as abandonment, and this is when we lose family members. This is when we um, we miss out on prayers, and prayers not being answered. We don't perform
mm-hmm.
at the level we really prepared for. There's a sense of being left behind. There's a sense of being let down, and it does this. It does the same thing as a broken heart for somebody being abandoned, because it creates a crack that every time you're in something similar, it reminds you of that abandonment, and you automatically react.
So what are some things that a person might, or some behaviors that someone may exhibit that could stem from abandonment? So if somebody's watching and they may not be sure that that's what they're dealing with, what are some things that they may be doing, some words that they may be saying, some feelings they may be experiencing that could help them understand that, hey, that's rooted in abandonment?
One of the most obvious and unobvious signs of abandonment is the mask abandoner, where you are the people that are very quick to cut people off,
Mm-hmm.
people that are very aggressive, very open to how quickly they cut people off, people that have very, very short um, patience for
Mm-hmm.
certain things, people that have created barriers. Is usually one of the most obvious things, because most people who have been abandoned, their desires for it to never happen again, so they become the abandoner, so that they don't have to worry about it. If I abandon you first, you can't hurt me. You can't abandon me because I'm already gone.
Mm-hmm.
People who can easily mentally and emotionally check out without much notice.
You can easily disconnect yourself because it's a, what do you call it, the protection
Mm-hmm.
mechanism. Like
It's a
you're
defense mechanism.
attempting
Yeah.
your defense mechanism. Like I'm trying to protect me.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to protect me, I'm gonna just dip out before you get a chance to hurt me or say anything out the way or leave me. I'm gonna leave you first.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of if you're listening and that's something that you see yourself doing, like, and I think what they say is my cutoff game strong, right?
Yeah.
So
Yep.
if your cutoff game is strong, you probably are dealing with some abandonment issues somewhere. There may have
Absolutely.
been somebody, and like you said, it may not have just been parental or relationship that may have left that you felt like should not have left. And when they left, they caused you to say, you know, my cutoff game real strong. I'm out, because you're trying to protect
Absolutely.
yourself.
Absolutely. Because I mean, it's not help. It's, man was not created to be alone. It got, the assembly. Like there are so many examples of what God desires us to be connected, and
Mm-hmm.
whether we like it or not, we are connected. So when you are someone to when you are someone that your go-to is cutting people off, you'll catch yourself missing out on opportunities to grow, because most relationships don't get any type of depth
Mm-hmm.
until you hit that crossroads. And if I'm triggered by abandonment, the moment you do anything that reminds me of that initial trauma, then I cut you off and I miss the depth. So
Mm-hmm.
another one of the signs of people that they prefer to stay on the surface. People that are really, really surfacey, really kind of, go with the flow, and if anything get a little wild, they can check out, or they don't desire to go any deeper. They prefer to stay on the surface. That could also be a form. People who are afraid to try also is
Mm-hmm.
another form of abandonment.
So, question: do you think that, because it's something that you just said that triggered this question in me? Do you think that the end of a thing or the disconnection, like the abandonment, has to be grieved because it's like a death or disconnect?
I mean, I think sometimes it's case by case. I think that every conclusion deserves to be acknowledged,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't believe that every conclusion should be grieved. I think sometimes that can be abusive to you, psychologically and emotionally. I mean, just think about a kid, and I'm thinking about my nephew right now. Is that when his father leaves the room, it destroys him every time.
Mm-hmm.
Just it just rips his little it just rips his little heart apart. He immediately shuts down, crying, fussing. He's terrified. He goes through this over and over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
And so what that codependency creates is a person that will fear people leaving, fear conclusion. So that means that when something comes to an end, like we have seasons, there are people who I'm talking about, we was thick as thieves in one season, and the next season we weren't.
Mm-hmm.
And if I grieve that and nothing died, it just concluded. Imagine me going out of town and then people have a funeral for me. I come back like, oh, I thought you died. Like, no, I went somewhere else. So yeah, I think that it should be acknowledged that yeah, this was our time. We had a conclusion, but not everything needs to be grieved, because that's grieving is you know, I think it's a time and place for both.
Gotcha. Because I don't say, like, I agree that there is a time and a place, and I think that there is true distinctions between, this is just the end of a thing. But I think the end of a thing does need to be acknowledged, and you have to
Yes.
process the end of that thing. And so maybe it's not that I go through all 7 steps of grief. I think
Of
it is.
grief.
Yeah, maybe I don't have to go through those 7 steps, but I do need to go through an acknowledgement period
Mhm.
of the thing that I lost, because if I've been abandoned or disconnected or something has ended and I don't acknowledge it, my defense mechanism says I don't want this experience ever again,
Right.
because I've never processed the experience, because it had to come to an end. So the fact that you didn't process what happened to you, try to understand or get help or any type of acknowledgement of that thing ending, it went to straight like, I don't want this again, so I'm gonna be by myself, type of thing. So I agree that I think that there is a time
Absolutely.
to grieve, because some things will die.
Yeah.
There is a time to acknowledge, because there has been an end of a thing.
And conclusion or ending doesn't always mean loss.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just think about when you go up a ladder. That third ladder isn't your fifth ladder. It's the third ladder. So when you keep climbing, it doesn't disappear. It's not gone. You still have that third ladder. But in a lot of situations, the only way to get back to that third ladder is to go backwards. So why would I, in some cases, mourn or grieve a loss of something that's not really a loss because it was a part of my
The
elevation. It was a part,
process.
so we have to identify. I mean, we have to, and this comes with, just a little bit of putting ourselves in a place of emotional intelligence to understand that this had its place here. I needed this. God put this here and I needed it because I learned X, Y, and Z. And
But
now
see,
it's
that
over.
comes through acknowledgement, because
Yes.
if I don't stop to acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
the experience, right? If I don't even process or recognize what the experience was here for. So this was an elevation period. This
Mm-hmm.
person was here in my life. They say a season, a reason, and a lifetime. So maybe there was a reason why they were here, but I got to be able to stop and try to identify what that is, because if I don't, I will see a reason or a season as abandonment. I'll
Yeah.
see it as you just left me, not understanding that no, my time was up. I've exhausted all of my time with you, and I came and did what I needed to do with you, and now I can move forward. Or I was here for a reason, like I was here to teach you this, and you learned that, and now I
Absolutely.
can move forward. But if I don't stop in between the loss or the disconnect or the end of a thing
Mm-hmm.
and try to
And
make sense
acknowledge
of
it.
what that thing was and acknowledge it, then I may see everything that happens, every disconnect, every loss as
Yep.
abandonment when it
You'll
really
clump it
wasn't.
all up. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's
So I
that's
have a
exactly it.
question. I kind of want to go back a little bit when you talked about cutting people off, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you're saying that that is a behavior, or behavior of someone who has been abandoned. So where do you draw the line, or where is the difference between it being an indicator of abandonment versus it being abuse? Right. So where do if I cut you off, at what point of the relationship or in the hurt or wherever it may be, do I cut you off where it's not considered a behavior of abandonment, but I'm trying to eliminate abuse?
Yeah, I think, like I said, one, just acknowledging and being aware of what you're in its place. So we sometimes we clump everything up. So one thing is one thing. I think that when it's reactionary, then you're not making a decision, you're reacting. So it's emotional. I Now I'm not, now if it's something abusive and it's something obviously harming you, then some people don't need to be cut off. Some people just need to be put in their place. Some situations just need to be put in its place. Some things just need to be acknowledged and recognized, because cutting off, in many examples, is a job. Cutting you off, blocking you, hating you, seeing you in the streets, being mad at you, finding out who, if you cool with this person, like it becomes a full-time job. So now it's all this reactionary stuff to something that could have been acknowledged, that one doesn't deserve all this effort once you understand exactly what it is. Everything does not deserve fight or flight. And it's because fight or flight is that, if I'm fight or flight about everything, then there's no balance emotionally on how things affect me. So I think that the one thing is identifying what something is exactly for what it is and responding to it in that place. I think you can find something that you could be in an abusive situation, not necessarily, I'm talking about not physical abusive, but maybe emotionally abusive or even psychologically abusive. And it's not about you cutting the thing off, it's about you acknowledging it, and you put in positioning yourself so that it no longer has a hold on you. And that could just really just be a paradigm shift. It could really just be you changing how you view something. And you don't have to make a clear declaration and cut numbers and block. You can just change your mind, because you can't cut off everything. Imagine having this relationship or these feelings with a superior. I mean, it's only so many jobs or opportunities you can quit before you're actually harming yourself because of this emotion. Does that make sense, love? I mean, Coach LaToya early.
Yes, thank you.
So, question. So, I know that this is what you're going to be walking the women through during the weekend. Is this a topic for your dads as well?
Fully. This is a piece. Dang, this just gonna sound wild. This is a piece of what I want to talk to women about, because I feel like women are so in their feelings and emotions, and traveling pantsing enough that they're in touch with a lot of this stuff. That this is more for my men because men take on the role of abandoner. Um, and even a lot of women who are abandoners were abandoned. Most people who were abandoned was, or most abandoners were abandoned first, but it all stems from something. So yeah, this conversation is directly for my fathers, and for my men just in general, because how we react and how we respond to this stuff. I mean, just think about the dad who was a son that was fatherless, who becomes a fatherless dad. A deadbeat father. That directly happens. You'll also see that in his relationships. You also maybe see that even in his professional, spiritual. Because a lot of people even struggle spiritually with God because they felt alone and abandoned, and then that spirals out to faith in everything and believing that anything will be there when you need it, type thing. But here, real quick, before can we respond to one of the survival mode? I don't want to tear up her name. She's survival mode. The and this
Marquay?
is some Marquay.
Yes.
Marquay. Okay. Survival mode was something that survival mode is passed down from generation to generation. And I wanted to speak on that because that's something that kind of like hit me directly because I lived in survival mode. So I just wanted to paint a picture of how abusive survival mode can be. Imagine being delivered, right? Let's say, let me go. Okay, castaway. You're abandoned on this, just on this boat, middle of the ocean, right? You have to survive for, let's say, 6 years. You survive. Figure out how to feed yourself. You become a savage almost. Like you're just grimy. You get saved. Your situation changes, but your mind doesn't. So you're still living in survival mode, but now you're in increase, but you're not able to take advantage of it because your mind is still stuck in survival mode. So you're in a palace, but you're eating on the floor.
That's good.
And survival mode will have you walking around with your guns up, and you're literally in a home and you're protected. You're in a whole different situation, but you're still just trying to survive. And it's like, well, survival has its place, but so does increase. So does that mindset of someone who has survived and now what? That's the so what. So what? Yes, you survive now. Now what's after that? So yeah.
I think that she made a good point with, allowing herself to feel and acknowledge, feel and acknowledge what she was going through, exactly what you were talking about, and how it's so related and closely related to rejection. And so these are the reasons why we are hosting, this Coach My Life weekend, because whether or not you're a business owner, whether or not you're in corporate America, wherever you are, if you're having a hard time pushing past some of these traumatic experiences, they're showing up in your life every day and you're not even noticing it. You're not
Absolutely.
even realizing it, right? So because of your childhood abandonment, because of your adulthood abandonment, you're having a hard time going after new positions in your career. You're having a hard time going after the job that you really want to go after. You're having a hard time growing your business because in your subconscious, those memories are stored. That emotion is stored. And so if you don't pull that stuff from the root, if you don't acknowledge, what, I felt abandoned during this time, and then it created rejection and the fear of rejection, then you're going to constantly feel like you're climbing up a mountain or the ladder that Demetrious was just sharing, but you're not going anywhere, right? You're going to constantly feel like how they say, as soon as I make 2 steps forward, I get knocked back 3 steps. You're going to constantly feel that way because that emotion and those memories are reminding you of the trauma. So these are the areas that we have to heal in, ladies. This conversation is so near and dear for me because being in business, I've been in business since 2012. I've been a full-time entrepreneur since 2014. And I had to watch these things unfold in my life every day. And I'm like, what is happening? What is going on with me? And I had to watch myself face abandonment. I had to watch myself face rejection. I had to watch myself face pride. And while we don't think any of these things are important because we've always been taught, push stuff under the rug, get over it, grow up, put your big girl panties on and get over it. Just because I got over it doesn't mean that I healed from it. And really, I never got over it. I just found a great way to hide it and to keep moving forward. So I appreciate Marquay. Thank you so much for sharing and being transparent in the comments. And ladies, just, this is our time to talk about it so that we can again work with one another so that you can break free and win in 2022. So thank you so much, Demetrious. I'm sorry, I'm done now. Maybe we'll see.
We know you're not, but listen. So I think that was really good, though. Thank you for that, Toya. I will say this: I liked how you talked about one of the things could be if your cutoff game is strong. One of the things that I think we talked about, we were able to recognize and identify on one of our coaching calls is that someone else was trying to show up for everybody. She was like so supportive, running around, making it happen for everybody else because she didn't recognize that she was dealing with the abandonment. And so she was trying to like fill the void in everybody else's life. She was trying to fill the void within her own life by simply being there for everybody and everything, just running herself half crazy because she inadvertently, and I'm going to use the word inadvertently because it wasn't intentional for her. She inadvertently didn't want anyone else to experience and or feel what she was feeling. So she was showing up for everybody, running herself, half crazy. Like she said, I was on the go. I was here. I was doing this. And it was in her mind, I'm just being supportive. But in reality, she was trying to fill the void of abandonment that she experienced for other people. Absolutely. So I do think abandonment is a huge trauma that we cover up with so many different things just so that we can feel better or so that we don't have to acknowledge it.
Absolutely. And sometimes doing all that so that they won't abandon her either. Or so you won't abandon me either. Let me do this so that you won't, like you said, you try to jump into the future. You try to stop something from happening by trying to fill like you said, fill those voids or overcompensate.
And this really rolls into people pleasing, right? So
absolutely.
now I'm trying to catch up and stay up and do everything that you need me to do so that you won't leave me, and then I won't make you feel how I felt when I was left. And then now I'm people pleasing. Now I'm transforming into someone that I'm not even this person because I'm so busy trying to jump through all of these different hoops. And then we look up 20, 30 years later, and we're in a place that we've never imagined ourselves to be in. And then how do I get out of this? How do I get out of this space of feeling like I have to people please? And it stems all the way back to healing from that space of abandonment.
It also keeps you stuck in a situation because you don't want to abandon anybody. So you'll stay somewhere too long because you don't want to become an abandoner.
Yep.
And the whole time you're doing that, though, in reality, you're scared that people won't show up for you. It's like, okay, listen, I'm going to make sure I'm showing up for them and showing up for them. But then I'm going to stay stagnant at this place in my life and not grow and not do different things because what if no one shows up? Because it's going to surface for you. No matter how much I'm trying to show up for everybody else, in the back of my mind, I'm fearful that people won't show up for me. So if you're questioning if it's something that you are struggling with, we've given you guys a few different behaviors that you may be exhibiting. But if you've ever said to yourself, well, I'm not going to do that because what if nobody shows up? That's a very big indicator that you may be struggling with some abandonment issues because you are afraid that people won't show up for you because at some point in your life, someone didn't show up for you. Somebody who mattered may not have showed up or may have left.
This is so funny that you say this. So for number one, I love birthdays, right? I think that everybody should celebrate their birthday. I think you should take the whole month to celebrate your birthday and just rock out.
I'll agree.
But I've only had one birthday party since maybe two since I've been an adult, right? And my thing has always been because I don't think people are going to come. And it's because, and I won't name no folk because they might be on watching my Facebook and I don't feel like dealing with it on the phone. as a child, you didn't show up. You
Mhm.
always told me you was gonna come. You always told me I was gonna be there. And this person she still does it to this day, which is
Mhm.
hilarious. But that because of that seed that was sown when I was a child, those are the moments where, like you just said, I don't want to do this because I don't think someone's going to show up. I don't think they're going to be there for me. And that is trauma. That
Mhm.
is not a good space to be in, because there are people who are waiting for you to show up. And if
They're
you
waiting to
don't show
celebrate
up,
you.
they're waiting to celebrate you. It's people who want to acknowledge you. And I'm saying
Mhm.
all of this stuff, so I mean I got to get off my own self, right?
Yes, you do.
But it just makes so much sense. And I've just seen it. I've seen how abandonment or rejection, because those two really do go hand in hand,
Mhm.
how that shows up in your adulthood. And we really have to, start implementing these strategies and acknowledging it, y'all. We got to acknowledge it. I know that our parents, they didn't talk to us about this stuff. My parents didn't talk to me about how they felt abandoned or how they felt rejected by family members or parents or anybody. So it was kind of like, when I started having these emotions, I didn't have anybody to go to. I just went into adulthood trying to figure it out.
Mhm.
And then finally I'm like, no,
This ain't okay.
this ain't it, something not right, this not okay. So I appreciate this conversation, and I just really want to just reiterate, you have to heal. If
Mhm.
you're not going to look back and say, man, what things are pulling me back, because they're holding you back. You're saying, why can't I grow in my business? Why can't I grow in my profession? Why? If you turn around and look at history, you'll see the things that are pulling you and holding you back and keeping you from hitting that next level. We have to acknowledge these things so that we can become better. I'm sorry. I love it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I agree. So let me say this. I agree with everything you just said. I wholeheartedly agree that your birthday should be about you. If you know me, I always say it's an international holiday. They're celebrating my birthday all around the world, and I'm going to do the same thing. And so I used to be that way too, where it would be like, well, I would just have something and I'll just pay for everything so everybody can come. So nobody has an excuse on why they're not gonna come because you ain't got no money. It's cool, I got it. But it's like, it's your birthday, have a good time. I had to get to the place where I had to be okay with who showed up for me. And that was something that was big on my part. Like, I have to be okay with who shows up for me and be okay with that. I can't keep thinking about who didn't
That's
come.
good. I
Whoever
gotta I gotta be okay with who shows up for me.
who
I
shows
like
up for
that.
me. So who didn't come? Okay, but you are here. So let me celebrate with the people who are here with me. So I'm sorry, Meech. You ready to come back to the conversation? We be doing this all the time. Come
We
back.
do.
Come back, Dad Coach.
No, I
So
think it makes sense. It's all good. It's good information.
absolutely. So listen, because we kind of took over a little bit, but if you have one tip to share with the women, the viewers, the listeners, because on this we probably have some men watching this as well. So if you could share one thing, I'm gonna take it a step further with you. What would you tell the abandoner, and what would you tell the abandonee? That should be right. That's right.
Now
That ain't
y'all
right
just
either.
now y'all just making stuff up, okay? Like y'all just making words up.
And the
But
abandonist.
in the
Yeah.
abandonist, yeah. What would you tell those
Facts.
three people?
Facts. I would tell the abandoner, and this is something I specifically, direct to my men's. You can go home. A lot of people, the abandoner is confident in abandoning because they know they don't believe that they can go home. They don't believe in
Mhm.
reconciliation. They don't believe that they can be forgiven. And it's way easier to stay on your high horse than to come down because there's a leap of faith to come down off that high horse and be accepted amongst the locals. So that's a battle within itself. The abandoned, I would really tell you that, and this is where it gets tough because the the action or the response to going through the healing of being abandoned is so cliche that it only sounds good, but the work of healing through abandonment doesn't feel good because just because you need to heal from abandonment does not mean you will have a pep rally.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean that you won't spend time alone. but it's supposed to help you walk through from being alone and not being lonely, because there's a difference. And of course I can tell you that, no matter where you are, God is with you, right?
Mhm.
But but there's some things in the midst of healing that you have to walk through. The one, which is, this is a part of your healing process. You need to position yourself to even be able to feel the presence of God, because a lot of times you will feel lonely because if you're going through all this hurt and all this pain, it's hard for you to sense God's presence, which creates the feeling of loneliness.
Mhm.
There are people who spend most of their time, moving and shaking, and they're not always with somebody, they're not always coupled up, and they're not lonely. And it's one, because they're in their purpose, they can feel the presence of God, and they know that not being they're by themselves, but they're not being rejected, if that makes sense. So we have to identify that just because you by yourself right now don't mean you're alone, and doesn't mean that you're lonely, and doesn't mean that there's something wrong. There, unfortunately, sometimes being by yourself proves that you're in the right place. um, I remember I was watching this when I started a new job. There were two doors, but there was no sign. But in the instructions before that day, it said, go to this door. But everybody was standing in front of another door. So when I walk up, I saw all these people at this one door, and I'm a nerd. Like, I like direction. Like, please don't make me have to figure something out that I can't control. I hate it. So if you tell me this is how it then I can perform amazingly.
Green.
So I see the instructions, but I see the crowd of people, and it was a line. This is what's so interesting about people that need crowds and this, that, and the fourth. So this line is forming with this door. In front of this door, the door won't open. And I'm looking at the instructions, but I really I want to go stand in the line, because that's got to be the right thing, because everybody's there. But I'm like, no, the instructions say this. And I walked to that door and I walked straight in. And I
Mm.
walked in there by myself.
Mm-hmm.
So then, people, oh, that door's open. Or on the flip side, I went over and I opened the other door. But the thing of it is that if I allow myself to be doing, if you allow feeling like you're doing something by yourself to be a good reason not to do it, or you feel that it's proof that you're doing the wrong thing, then you can be surrounded by people for the fear of being abandoned, for the fear of going to that door and it don't open, you know.
Fear
So
of
you
doing it
can just go
alone.
with the crowd,
Mm-hmm.
um, and you still, just because of the fear of abandonment.
That was good. So you had to walk through the door alone. But then when you got to the other side of the door, you were able to let everybody else in.
Because you become a resource. That's
Becoming
what, once you heal from abandonment, you can free and help other people. You can point that out. So now somebody else who felt alone, now that door opens for them, and they're like, oh, so I'm not alone. This is where I go. And this is how it looks sometimes, walking through a door and walking into a room by yourself.
I love it. I love it. And I love what you said to the abandoner. It's so funny because I'm going to connect you with the gentleman I was talking to today. We had this exact same conversation. Um, went through a divorce. Mom is now upset that he's dating, so she is completely keeping the kids from him. And what he said to me today was, and he was like, I mean, hands on, amazing father. And what he said was, I think it's over. Said, I don't think I'll be able to connect with my kids anymore. I just think it's over. And I said, no, trust me, you can go back, you can fix it. And so I think that's something he needs to not hear from me. He needs to hear from a dad telling him that you can go repair that situation.
You
So
can
I'm
definitely
definitely
go home. You can
going
definitely go
to
home.
connect you with him. I'm actually probably going to text you or text him your number like tonight. Like, please call
For
him.
sure. You can definitely come home. But like I said, but you can only go home. I don't know how to go home without the dad coach. So I have been asked sometimes, like, how do you know? Can reconciliation happen without God? And I'd be like, maybe, probably. I don't know what that looks like, because I've watched somebody. Okay, I've watched somebody without do something without God, and from the outside, it looked like they got it. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. I don't know what it looked like in real life. But somebody I know who's with God, I've watched them go through something by themselves for years in belief and walking with God. Like, God told me to do it this way. And 5 years later, they were the coming home happened.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the person that I saw jump through hoops or whatever from the outside, I don't know how they did. I don't know what it looked like. I don't know what it is. I know the person that walked with God, and when they went back home, and when I say went back home, they had to be patient. That's what's so wild. He he had to stand still. God told him to stand still
Mm.
and let something happen, and he was fighting it the wrong way. So his coming home was actually letting home come to him, and it
Mm-hmm.
sucked. Watch, by sight for so long, but when home came, it was crazy.
We got a question from Facebook.
Yeah, but what if the other door was supposed to make see not see? Dang, when I hate it. I love when people expose the human aspect in the room because you're absolutely right. What if that door is supposed to be closed? Because what if God didn't tell you to open that door
Mm-hmm.
and give access to the wrong people, which goes to abandonment. I wouldn't want to be standing outside no door. I know how I feel to be locked outside of a door.
Mm-hmm.
So now I just let
Mm-hmm.
somebody in and gave somebody else that wasn't able to
Access.
either that didn't have I gave somebody access that wasn't following directions, and I gave them access to something that was created and designed for someone that did. So you're absolutely right. What if what if the other door was supposed to stay closed and you let somebody in and it's your fault? What happens from there?
Mm.
That's exactly it. It's you did it. So God don't be like God this, and we can't be like, man, but because you were supposed to go through that door. That's all I said. You open up, you let other people in. So you created your own issues from that point.
So you're telling me that it's not always the enemy's fault.
Yeah, you just got to identify and acknowledge who the enemy.
Mm.
That's all. It's definitely always the enemy, but the enemy ain't always them and they. Sometimes it's I is you.
I is. I love
Yeah, facts.
it.
Yeah, sometimes the enemy is in the mirror.
Yeah, that's
For that
good.
perfect example of you letting somebody in that God never told you to, and you gave them access that God never told you to give.
That's
Mm.
good.
That was good. All right. So
Great
I know
question.
we're wrapping up. So if you are watching us, we will
Great
be
question.
ending this call and we'll be heading over to Clubhouse. Please feel free to join us over in Clubhouse for the continuation of this call.
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse. That's where we're going.
I
We're going
love
to
Clubhouse. I'm so
Clubhouse is
excited.
dope.
I am so excited about
Can
being
y'all
in
can
Clubhouse.
y'all hear that? Did y'all hear that? Just a little bit. Okay, I was just making
Cause
sure.
I've been abandoned in Clubhouse, so I have so much anxiety. I, Clubhouse has
Who,
abandoned me so many
how
times.
they abandon you? The
No,
folks didn't.
I'm because there's a lot of rooms where I don't belong. Oh, that's a good one.
Don't go in the door.
Look, right. No,
Listen,
look. Yeah. Because there have been rooms that I've gone in that I didn't belong into, but I wasn't accepted in. But I was upset that I wasn't accepted in a room that I probably didn't belong in the first place. But I wanted to,
Mm.
which is a great example of wanting to be accepted in a room. Like, so you're feeling the effects of abandonment, and God was like, "But them people not supposed to accept you. Like,
anyway,
Mm-mm.
you weren't supposed to be accepted
that's
by them
good.
anyway."
It's not your tribe. That's
But
not who I
yeah,
sent you
but we're going to Clubhouse.
to. All right.
Yay, let's do it.
Any closing remarks? Anything you want the Facebook viewers to know before we go to Clubhouse and you tell them some stuff?
Facebook. All I would say is I hope everybody deleted those comments from that wildness. I told you the devil just be wilding. Like I said, you got to go to Clubhouse. Those were to get my final comments in Clubhouse.
You know what? I like it. I like it. If you
I
want the
like it too, actually.
if you want the final comments, if you want some additional content, some more information, you need to do two things. One, you need to register for this conference to get the full training, all of the tips, all of the insights, all of the actual instructions on how to. If you want to know the so what now, then you need
Yeah,
to be at this conference.
please. Yeah, I think yeah. See, what sucks is people just don't know how these conferences hit. This conference is we call it the weekend because if you come to this conference that you won't be weak anymore. So we're gonna get the week out. We'll drop that A and give you an E on Sunday. Sunday morning, you'll have your E back.
Dang, so it's about to be some E's in the boxes.
Here we go. Don't give any more ideas.
Do you have your E's? Go grab your
Listen,
E
I
out your
just
box.
saw the light bulb go off in her head. Like I just saw it.
We
That's
got to be in
dope.
the transition. You got to be in the transition. So I say it's the weekend because this is the week, the time frame where your weaknesses will end.
We're gonna weed
You
out that,
are,
yeah.
and so I like you got to drop the A and get the E. Are we gonna do that?
We
Gonna do
giving out
that.
E's. That's a
Giving
good
out
one.
Giving out
E's.
E's.
Everybody getting the E around here. We're getting the E for the earlies. You know, we just throwing out E's. The earlies
Look
is
how
giving
God
out
look how
E's.
God put that together. I didn't even it is an E in our name. That's crazy.
All right, social media, Facebook, Instagram, whatever other platforms we are streaming on. We probably streaming on the moon right now. If y'all listening in, I tell you what, meet us over in Clubhouse. This has been an amazing conversation. Winning after abandonment. If you are not registered for the Coach My Life weekend, which is December 3rd through the 5th, you can certainly register. The information is on the bottom of the screen at www.coachmylife.com. I have a special code for you if you would like that. That gives you 50% off of our general registration. If you want that code, inbox me, message me, comment under this video, code please, and myself or one of the team members will jump in and provide you with the code. We would love to see you at the weekend, where you can have some more time with a dad coach and our vision coach, the earlies.
Sweet.
Cool. Have a fantastic night.
See you guys in Clubhouse.